live. Hello and welcome to our very first live webinar. I'm Vicky and this is Mark and we're from Bigfork. Today's webinar is all about what B2B websites are getting wrong, what's costing them leads, and how you can avoid doing the same to yours. We're aiming for about 30 minutes with a live Q&A at the end. So remember your most pressing website questions. Or if you think you're going to forget, pop them in the comments box and either I'll interrupt Mark with them or we can go through them at the end. And just one more thing before I hand over to Mark is, as you lovely lot have attended live, we're going to pop you in a draw to win a free website assessment from us. So I will be in touch afterwards if you are one of the lucky winners. So yeah, thanks for watching and over to Mark.
Thanks, Vicky. My name is Mark Ellaway. I'm founder and director of Bigfork. Last time I counted, I had about 20 plus years experience in digital marketing. And my fellow director, Colin Richardson, and I set up Bigfork about 15 years ago. And our aim was to create websites that don't just look good, because a lot of them do look good, but don't actually have any measurable impact on business performance. So that's our aim. That was our aim, to really make websites a lot more effective and actually produce a return on the money that's spent on them. So now we specialize purely in B2B websites. And that's what we're here to talk to you about today. So what's the problem with B2B websites? So the big thing, as I'm sure most of you are aware, and it's not just websites, it's the whole sort of B2B marketing area, is that buyer behavior has been changing rapidly. You know, everyone, 70% at least, according to the last survey I saw, are researching for new suppliers, new products, new services online. So they don't want to talk to sales, they want to look at your website, and they're coming in, they're using AI, they're using ChatGPT and Gemini, Perplexity, Claude, all of those things. They're using search, so they're still going on Google and searching, and then obviously LinkedIn is a big area as well. So the problem is that we see it especially is that many B2B websites are not designed for this change. So a lot of companies are just focused on making their websites look good, and they're hoping that, yeah, the website will look good and everyone will call us. They'll just fill out the form or they give us a ring and talk to our sales team, which is not what they want to do in many cases. So I'm going to cover the three main problems that I see with B2B websites. There are more, but these are the main ones that I think are the most important ones that are holding B2B websites back. So the first one is obviously B2B websites. Many of them are just not designed for buyers. A survey I saw the other day on LinkedIn just showed that many B2B companies are just losing leads and sales because of their websites. And B2B buyers are just frustrated that the website isn't giving them the information they want. The company's very focused on what they want to say and not what the buyer wants to hear. So a lot of website sessions from B2B buyers are just ending in frustration. So what do buyers actually want from websites then? So here's a nice little Venn diagram that we produced. There's a lot of research from the Content Marketing Institute. If you want to check their website out, it shows you a lot more detail about this. But there's a bit of a disconnect as you see. What they want is they want to know what you do, the benefits of your products, the value you provide, case studies, testimonials, resources, all of those things. What the company tends to give them is a long list of products that's difficult to navigate through, the latest news, the long company history, big forms, galleries, all of those things. So what they generally get isn't what they want. So there's a bit of a big disconnect in there. And of course, they also want it to be fast loading and easy to navigate.
Yeah, and I think a good point with this Venn diagram is that we are not now saying take everything off that's in the right-hand circle, because a lot of the time, a big challenge with B2B marketing is balancing what customers want and pleasing your bosses. So departments like sales or the tech team, they're going to want these kind of things, but we're just saying that your site needs to include both. And trying to keep everyone happy is really difficult, but lots of companies neglect what the customer wants and just build it for the board. But we are saying try and fight back on that, and give your site a bit of both.
Definitely. So how do you fix this? How do you give a website that customers want? So I've got 3 questions there, but before I go into them, I think how people normally do this is they look at their Google Analytics and their heat maps, which gives you lots of data as to what people are doing on the website, what pages they're looking at, their user journey, how long they're spending, and all of that is really useful data, and it tells you what people are doing. But the really big question it doesn't answer is why are people doing it, and why aren't they doing things that you want them to do? So I recommend you ask these 3 questions, because this is really good qualitative data. And people say to me, oh, well, it's really difficult to get those, but actually it's not as difficult as you think. So you can do these face to face with either existing or potential customers, in workshops, in sales meetings. You can have a survey on your website, perhaps offer a bit of an incentive to fit it in. And another thing that we've tried as well that works really well is like exit pop-ups on your website. So when they're about to leave, you can pop up these questions in. There's only 3, so they're pretty easy to answer. But so number 1 is, what were you trying to do on our website? So this is really showing what the website wants when they land on the website. And it very much depends whereabouts in their buying journey they are. So were they just looking for information, to see if that you can solve the problem that they have, or were they a lot more intent? Were they trying to book a call or find out some buying information because they're very close to either buying from you, or they are ready to talk to sales? Question number 2 is was anything hard to find, not clear, or missing? And this one is very much about navigation and content. So as I sort of alluded to in the previous slide there, a lot of B2B websites, it is quite difficult to find products because there's categories, subcategories, and so on. So finding how hard it was to find the content is important. Was the content itself clear? Did it show the benefits they were looking for? Was it easy to understand? And what was actually anything they were looking for missing? Wasn't there at all. So what content might your website be missing that would be really useful to website visitors? And then number 3, what would have made it easier for them to take the next step? So again, it really depends on the buying stage that they're at, but perhaps they want to download a white paper or some information, a PDF, or perhaps they wanted to book an appointment with sales, or fill out a contact form for someone to call them. So yeah, that answers, feedback answers to those 3 questions is really invaluable. And I think, and this sort of data, this qualitative data, is just as good as, if not better than, the other data you're getting from the analytics, because this will show you where your website is lacking at the moment, what you need to do to improve it in terms of navigation and conversion design and content. So yes, the second biggest problem I see on B2B websites is lack of proof content. And what I mean by proof content is things like case studies and testimonials. So a recent study that I saw on LinkedIn showed that nearly half of businesses are losing deals because they don't have any proof content on their website, not because of their product pages. And of course, I mean, it's pretty obvious why. We know most B2B buyers, they're risk averse. They don't want to put their reputation and their job on the line by going ahead with a company that can't give you any proof of that their service or their product does what you say it does. So I think without proof content, and just rely on sales copy, you really are risking losing those deals. And I quite often get sort of resistance to this from clients that I think they think, yeah, case studies, testimonials, that they think that potential customers won't believe it. But the proof is out there in the surveys and the work we do. That is, if you put this content on your website, it does increase leads and sales, most definitely. And you see it even more with those sort of higher price B2B services and products. So obviously, the more money someone's going to spend, the more proof they want to see that you're a credible company and what you do does actually work, is actually going to solve their problems. So proof content really works far higher for the more bespoke stuff that a lot of B2B people do, is significantly higher. So I think it's clear that the proof content does improve the performance, because it just basically takes away the buyer concern, gives them the confidence to talk to you. Yeah, so what is the best B2B proof content? So I think what's the content on your website that's going to really help you increase a lead? So case studies is the obvious one, and yeah, that is definitely number one. But obviously, what you've got to do is do them right. So they've got to be in depth, and they really have to show how you solve their problems and the results that you get. So they don't want to just read too much stuff about facts and figures about the project. That is important, but the primary thing is how you help that company and how you solved it, because then that is proof that you can do that. And also is how you do those case studies as well. So try and make them a lot more visual rather than loads and loads of paragraphs of text. Break them up with video if you can, images, diagrams, number charts, anything that's visual that shows how you solve that problem, the results that you got. Customer testimonials are really good, and they work really well when you place them on high intent pages like product pages and landing pages. They really do boost conversions, and also if you place them near things like contact forms and calls to action, we've seen that they also help to increase conversions there, because people are seeing that extra proof content before they start to take action. And finally, we've got third-party reviews down there. Now, I think a lot of B2B buyers can be skeptical of claims that you make on the website. So if you've got reviews that are endorsed by people like Trustpilot and FIFO, those independent platforms that I'm sure most of you have heard of, that really does help the buyer get a lot more trust in your company and in your product and services. And the last, there is one more thing. I haven't put it down there, but it's really talking about who your clients are. So it's if you've got a really impressive client list, which I'm sure most of you have, and you're allowed to put that on your website, it really does show the website visitor, yeah, well, if they work for all of those, really good companies, they must be good. So it just really does help build that confidence. And you can put them on there as normally you will see as client logo walls or carousels, but I think it's very effective proof content. And here we go. This is just to show you a bit more about what I'm talking about, really. So this is a website we designed for a company called Impact Evolve, and they are a logistics consultancy. So they really working with e-commerce companies. So this is some screenshots from their case study page on the new website for Hawkstone, a brewery. So you can see there they've really put down what it is they did for the company. You can see there the results, the cost savings, the people they help them hire, the impact on performance, etc. So, and all backed up with a good testimonial from the client as well there. So very effective. And I think another point I'd make at this stage is a lot of clients I find struggle to do this because it takes a lot of time. They do have to talk to the clients. They've got to, and the clients are always busy. But I think it's really worth the time and effort into doing these because they really do help the website convert more and become more of a useful business tool. So yeah, if you're struggling to get these done and you're finding it frustrating and thinking, is it worth it? I definitely say it is. So the third main issue that I see with B2B websites is what I call the differentiation problem. So a lot of website designs now are very generic. People are using templates, they're using AI, so they're not really memorable. And we do a lot of competitor website analysis for clients, and we see that a lot of their competitor websites they sound the same. They say the same things, like we're the market leaders, world-class solutions, that sort of thing. So there's nothing really to help the potential customer choose between them. So if everyone says the same thing, looks the same, really, I think the decision starts coming about price, not on value. So which no one wants to be in that position. But does it work? I mean, website differentiation, really, we're talking about branding here, aren't we? So yes, it does work. And I'm sure some of you do a lot of work in branding and know that it does. But I think it's clear that it does work. For a start, as I said, a lot of websites look very similar. So if you do stand out, you are more distinct from your buyer, you're going to be more memorable. So every time that buyer is in the market for your product and service, they're going to have that recall from you. And also long term, that helps. You have to do less marketing, less sales, less campaigns because people are calling you because they remember you. And then it attracts the type of customers you want. So what I mean by that is, a lot of the websites out there, they're trying to be all things to all people. Vicky was talking to someone the other day who's saying, they get loads of inquiries they don't really want. But if your website is aimed at a specific customer and a niche, you're going to attract the right type of customers you want. And so you're not wasting time, dealing with inquiries that are just not relevant, just not your ideal target customer. And then finally, it does increase your profits, which will be great news, music to the ears of the C-suite, the CEO and the finance guys. So, if you can show you're different and better than your competition, you can basically charge more for the value you're offering because you're specialists, you're experts in the area that you are. Your product offers a lot of value. So you're gonna make more money as a company. And in terms of how to differentiate your website, so really this is, generic versus differentiated. So generic websites, as I said before, they try to be everything to everyone, but don't appeal to everyone. They use a lot of common jargon, like world-class solutions. I'm sure we've all seen it, the market leading solutions. You might even have that on your own website at the moment. I don't know, but it's very common jargon. I just don't think it means much to the customer. A lot of websites focus on product features. Nothing wrong and focus on product features. Customers do want that, but it needs to be showing the results and the value you provide as well. And a lot of the branding is very generic. If you look at, especially the technical industry, they do like their blues and their blacks, which obviously just all makes them look the same as well. So differentiated website, what we're talking about is that they're focused on a niche or an audience. So they do that with their copy appeals to that audience because they got knowledge of the industry. They show what industries they work in. They show how their product and their services benefits that industry, and the experience they've got in there with their case studies as well. And rather than sort of, common jargon, their copy talks about how they solve the buyer's pain points, the buyer's problems in terms of the value there and the results that their products get. And in terms of the branding, it's very distinct visual identity that is memorable.
Yeah, I think this is important because a lot of people think differentiation is color and visuals, and it is, but especially in a lot of bigger companies, there's going to be strict brand guidelines. So if you're in charge of the website, there's very little influence you can actually have over that. So for example, your company might have fantastic customer service ratings. Now, your competitors could also have that, but if you are the only one showing it, then people are more likely to choose you over them because there's just states they've got innovative solutions or innovative tech or innovative AI. So that is a good differentiator. So it's not always the visual thing, because more often than not, there isn't much you can change about a brand guideline.
No, exactly. Yeah. And what we're saying, is don't focus just on the look of the website. It's everything that behind it as well. That is just important, probably more important as well. And this is an example, some work we did with a company called Clarkson Engineering here in the energy industry. So that's the homepage that we designed there on the left. On the right-hand side, you can see the homepages of their 3 competitors. So when we do the competitor analysis, we put all these together and we think, well, okay, so a potential client is looking at all of these websites. So you can see the competitor websites are pretty samey in terms of images and colors, but also the messaging. So the messaging, it just basically says, what they do. Very, very plainly. There's no value offered or anything like that, really. So with Claxton, we took their brand and pushed it through into the design. And then the value proposition, cutting through complexity, focuses on what they find is their main strength that people like working for them for is they really sort out, they cut through a lot of complex problems that they get in, decommissioning oil platforms. So they can really simplify the problem and deliver the goods for them. So you can see what all this means in terms of trying to make yourself stand out there. And what we also did there, I haven't mentioned this already, but we've also humanized it a bit there. So what we see in B2B is people can be reluctant to use people. And we see a lot of, especially when we look at competitors' websites, like you can see there's pictures of oil rigs, the ocean, wind turbines, that sort of thing. But what the services generally people are buying are, they're all run by people. And so we've humanized the design a bit there with that's actually one of their engineers. It's not a stock shot there. So punched out the X in Claxton to get that across. Good. So they're the 3 main issues that we see with B2B websites. Of course, there are a lot more, but just to recap before we go to Q&A. So firstly, B2B websites need to be designed for buyers because we are seeing, most of them now are doing all of their research online. They're not talking to companies, business development people from day one. They're going out there, they're looking at websites, they're looking at directories, they're looking at everything else to research your company and your products and your services. So your website needs to really show the information they want and be designed for them, and not just look good, but actually be designed to get that performance from it. The second big thing is B2B websites need to show that proof content, like the case studies, the testimonials, and it's shown that it does increase conversions because buyers, they are risk averse. they're probably looking at very big contracts or very big spends with people. So they're not going to put their reputation on the line if they're really not convinced that you can do the job that you claim you can do. And then thirdly, B2B websites are too generic, largely. Differentiating websites does increase lead quality and really does help, I think, make your brand a lot more aware, get that recall from buyers now and in the future. And obviously, if you get it right, we think it can increase your profits as well, which is a good way of impressing the bosses. So that's the recap. Obviously, you might go away, look at this and think, yeah, we need to look at some aspects of our website so we can help with our website optimization checklist. So that covers everything, covers this, but it covers everything in a lot more detail, like goals and positioning and content. There's a lot more on there. So we're going to send that checklist over to you after this webinar today. So hopefully you'll find that useful. If, of course, if anyone has any questions, they'd like to chat with us about their website, just get in touch. So that's the end of the webinar. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you're going to stay along. And yeah, anyone got any questions?
Yeah, if anyone has any questions, pop them in the comments box. You can pick our brains and see what we have to say. But in the meantime, just a couple of common questions we get asked. If someone was to go away and make improvements to their website today, what would be the best way to measure that impact or measure the performance of those changes?
Yeah, good question. Yeah, I think measuring what you're doing is essential. And it depends really what you're doing, doesn't it? So if you're designing a website to increase conversions, so yeah, you know, you've got your call to action buttons, your form fills, your phone calls. So that's easy stuff to measure. So what was it like before you did the changes and what was it like afterwards? Things like if you're doing, you want to improve user journeys and navigation, then that really look at user journeys. You know, are people finding that, you know, are you getting more visits to the pages than before of where you wanted to go to? Are they finding it quicker to get to? And then if you're making changes to the user experience, you really expect them to stay on pages for longer, perhaps look at more pages. And you can also do things like A/B testing as well. So, for example, I don't know, I'm sure most of you have heard of A/B testing, but you can do two different versions of a web page and see which one works better. You know, one might convert better or one might engage people a lot more than the other one.
Yeah, and it's important to remember that you can measure those performance indicators on individual pages as well. So if someone goes away today and improves their case study page, you can add tags and look at how those changes have actually affected that one page. And if you get some more conversions through it, then it's a win-win.
Definitely.
And another common question we always get is budget approvals in B2B is difficult. So if somebody wants to invest some time, some money into a project like this or in improving their website, what's your advice to those who are looking to try and persuade their managers, their directors, the finance board, and people like that?
Yeah, it's something we see a lot. I mean, you know, there was a proposal we did a few months ago and it got rejected by the board on cost, you know, and it's I think what you have to do is show to people the return that you're going to get on it. So what we typically do is help the clients do that. So if your website's converting, say 1.5% of your traffic into leads at the moment, and you say, right, the changes we need to do to increase that, we've got here, and we think that will double the conversion rate to 3%. You can then say, right, so if we double our lead conversion rate, you know, and where every deal we get from our, you know, is worth maybe 100, 150,000, you can then start putting in the numbers to show how much more business you're going to get from your website. And that's the way to convince them to do that. So obviously you still have to convince them that you've got the expertise to do that, but that's how you put the proposal together to show that you've done it for other people, etc. So the and then of course, if you get that through with the C-suite, with the chief execs, then you've still got to measure it as well, because we know they will be they won't just give you the go ahead and then 1 year later, oh, how did that go anyway? Our experience is they'll be asking you 2 days after it goes live, like, has it doubled yet? So I think you've got to measure, you've got to track, you've got to see what's performing, what isn't performing, and so on. But in terms of getting it through, you've got to put in, a financial case. You've got to show the return on investment, especially if financial people are in on the committee. The chief execs, the managing directors, they want to see that, but they also want to see things, our experiences. They want to see, will it increase brand awareness? Will it improve the reputation of the company as well? Because if your company's better known in the industry, you then have to spend less money on sales campaigns and probably salespeople, because you are then getting more inquiries without having to go out and spend loads of times chasing leads. They're coming in because you've got a strong brand in the industry, and that's obviously makes the company worth more money as well, which is normally what the chief executive's role is.
Yeah. Eden's just said, would you consider doing a webinar on Google Analytics and how to source and understand these detailed user behaviors? I think that's definitely something we could look at. I think GA4 is an absolute matrix, so it's very understandable that is confusing. But I think the key with GA4 is to know what you're looking for, isn't it? Like, the data, but it's know what data you need. So
no, I think we definitely would, Eden. And it's we used to do, before COVID, we used to do a lot of sessions on how to use Google Analytics and how to get stuff out of it. They changed it to GA4, so it's a lot more complicated, but you can still get a lot of the information out. So we'll definitely look at doing one of those in the near future, I think.
Yeah. And just finally, because I know we're a couple of minutes over, if a company can't publish case studies or logos due to confidentiality or NDAs in contracts, how do they go about making that impactful proof content?
Yeah, no, and it's very common, isn't it? That the client won't give them permission to do it, especially if you're working with a very big global company. They don't really, they like to control everything. So there are various ways you can approach that. You can ask them, can we do an anonymous case study? And we do quite a few of those. We do see quite a lot of those. We know we've got several clients in the energy industry, and they're very strict on confidentiality in there. So, but you can do a case study saying we worked with this company in this area, etc. There's a bit of a danger, I suppose, that people in the industry will realise who it is. But at least they haven't been named. But again, you still need to probably get permission from your client to do that. So it is tough, but I think we're seeing more and more companies are happy to do that, providing that they do approve everything you put out about them.
Yeah, and if it's a case study as well, just rather than making the client the focus, make the problem. So client X had this problem. This is how we solve this problem. Rather than making it about the client. So I think that's.
And I think as well, the mistake a lot of clients make is they go to the operations people, and they'll get in touch with operations people, and they won't want to do it. But the secret is to go to the PR people within the big company, because it is PR for them. And they'll be a lot more cooperative, a lot more open to this than the operations company, teams who've got better things to do than do case studies. So you'll get more you get more traction, more out of the PR or marketing department, who will be quite happy to promote the company because you're helping them do their job.
Yeah.
Building their brand, you see.
Brand awareness. Right, I think if no one has any more questions, that's us finished for today. So thank you so much for watching, and if you have any feedback, we'd love to hear it, obviously being our first one. I'll send over an email to everyone with the recording, with these slides you saw today and a checklist. And obviously you'll be hearing from me soon if you've won a free website assessment. So feel free to scan the QR code and connect with myself or Mark on LinkedIn. If you'd like to chat about your website, just pop one of us a message, or you can always contact us through the website. So thanks again, and we look forward to seeing you at our next one.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.